Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Oh yes, it's going to be that kind of morning briefing. A couple of days ago, we discussed the impact that the NFL's tributes to the arch-anti-black racist Charlie Kirk had on black viewers of the NFL. The results are in, and what we see is there's record-breaking viewership. Obviously, that's not all black people, but you better believe that a significant portion of it is. You certainly wouldn't have record-breaking ratings without black viewership. What this proves is the black viewers of the NFL, primarily black men, didn't even have a period of being sour on the NFL for even an hour. Nobody decided, well, I can miss this Sunday's big game or Monday or whatever the other games are. They didn't do that. There was no period at all. It was just straight back to the boob tube as if nothing had happened. Now, what do you think this teaches billionaire racists like Jerry Jones and others when you do that? When a TV show or streaming show advertises itself as your new addiction, that should be your first clue you need to avoid it. Black people spend far too much time with these digital toys and these electronic distractions. We oversample hideously when it comes to so-called entertainment. Nobody ever built anything with their butt parked in front of a TV screen or their eyes glued to a cell phone screen. The word entertain comes from the old French entretenir, which means to hold. When you entertain a thought, you're holding a thought. When you entertain guests, you're holding them at your home and holding their attention. But those forms of entertainment are when you are in control. You're the one doing the holding. When you're watching TV or some movie, that's no longer the case. You're not the one who's in control. The television is, because it's the one holding you. And what's another word for holding something? To trap it. And that's what so-called entertainment does. It traps you. It contains and controls your impulses. So long as you're passively watching some mind rot on a screen or flipping through channels looking for the next distraction, you're not going to be challenging the powers that be. It's no accident that when these white men become wealthy, one of the first things they do is to try to get their hands on a media company. For decades, there's been network television putting on TV shows, and people in the U.S. are accustomed to watching so-called free programming. There's no charge to turn on the TV and watch something. Oh, how nice. These networks put on these TV shows and give you all this great entertainment for free just because they like you, right? Of course, we all know that's not true at all. They do it because their business model is based on advertiser revenue. The shows they put on TV are conceived of, produced, packaged, and presented to you for the sake of maximizing the number of people who will watch it and hopefully stick around for the commercials because that's how they make their money. As the old saying goes, if someone's giving you something for free, that means you're the product. Since we're doing a linguistic examination of entertainment, let's also deal with another word that's synonymous with it: fun. People watch shows, they engage with sports programs, play their favorite video games because it's fun, they say. In fact, there's entire industries that are based on getting people to have fun, creating venues for people to go and have fun for a price, of course. But do you know the etymological root of the word fun? If you did, you might not want anyone to try to make you have fun anymore. The word fun comes from the Middle English fon, which means to make a fool or to be a fool. When the word fun became fun, it then meant to cheat or to perpetuate a hoax. It wouldn't be until nearly the 1800s when the word came to mean what we think of today, amusement. But understand, the word fun means to make someone a fool, at least if you're allowing others to induce you to engage in their idea of fun. And this is what far too many black people tend to make their preoccupation. People tend to seek pleasure when they don't have purpose. We understand that black Americans make the difference when it comes to this or that political party's election success, but I need you to understand that black people also make the difference when it comes to companies' financial success too. From Nike to Tommy Hilfiger to you name it, black people take no-name brands and make them hot. We make them profitable. And these white-owned companies not only do not thank us, but they have nothing but contempt for us. I know I've got some video gamers here, so this next point is going to be particularly relevant. Now, I don't know exactly what Twitch is, and that's because I don't care. But I do know how to read. And while researching this morning's briefing, I came across this story about the CEO of Twitch, a guy named Dan Clancy. Apparently, the two biggest streamers on Twitch are black, Kai Cenat and iShowSpeed. These two are celebrities, I suppose, because they hang out with LeBron James and other relevant high-profile people. Between them both, they have tens of millions of subscribers, and they've made Twitch a ton of money. But apparently the CEO of Twitch doesn't think they're so valuable, because when he was on Kai Cenat's live stream, he was asked who he would put on the Mount Rushmore of Twitch streamers. Considering this guy is the #1 streamer on the platform, I think it's common sense that he would be on your hypothetical Mount Rushmore, but Dan Clancy didn't think so, because as soon as he was off the #1 Twitch streamer show, he told the very next non-black person he was talking to that he only said Kai belonged on the Mount Rushmore because he was talking to him at that moment and just wanted to be polite. Quote, in other words, Kai is big now, but arguably it's like he asked me, so I had to put him on there. But arguably it's like, look, you're great, but you can't be on the Mount Rushmore yet. This is a white man whose entire business success is due to black people, and yet he's so eaten up with racist hate that he can't just count his money and shut up. No, he has to tell black people that they're not deserving of whatever. But numbers don't lie, and if this guy is the #1 streamer on the platform, that means what the CEO thinks is irrelevant. But he's showing you how he manages to sleep at night, knowing that the face of his company is black and outperforming all the white users on the website. When it comes to white podcasters and streamers, these websites are making deals with these guys and all kinds of partnerships with them and going out of their way to see how they can make as much money together as possible. With the black ones, on the other hand, they just go out of their way to keep it as exploitative as possible. But this is what white people call a meritocracy. Doesn't matter if it's sports, music, or video games. Black people beat everyone else, and the white guys who actually own these platforms and venues use the success that we give them to elevate and praise everybody else. And you know what? Not only is Kai Cenat still streaming for this clown, but all of you black Twitch viewers out there are still going there, no doubt. It's just another in an endless string of examples of black people being addicted to entertainment that only serves to enrich people who hate us. Last year, we showed that when we withhold our vote, it deprives people of something. But guess what? When you withhold your dollar, you deprive them of even more. And I know talking about these things makes people uncomfortable, but believe it or not, I'm not trying to ruin your fun. I'm trying to keep your fun from ruining you. Going to sporting events, reality TV, and definitely things like smoking marijuana are all ways for us to disempower ourselves. And on a side note, another word to remember is diversion. That's a word that's also associated with entertainment. Diversion means to divert, but what are you diverting? You're diverting your mind. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with entertainment or going to sporting events or comedy shows in and of themselves, though I hope we have enough common sense not to go to any venue or patronize anyone who disrespects us. My point, though, is that everything has to be in moderation, and truth be told, we haven't really thought about what the proper amount of entertainment is. Here's a good yardstick to measure it by. What are you trying to achieve in life? What goal do you have that you're working towards? When you're watching TV, you're not doing anything that moves you closer to your goals. And to be honest, if the goal is important to you, you're probably not making a lot of time for anything besides that. So as I see it, a good ratio, for the person who's trying to get things done is 10 to 1. For every 10 hours of mental or physical exertion, there can, I didn't say must, I said can, be 1 hour of entertainment or diversion. More than that, and let's be honest, you're going to keep sitting there for hour after hour. The most common excuse people give to why they don't get such and such done is because I just don't have the time. But is that true? Add up all the hours per week that you spend in front of a TV or with your eyes glued to a phone screen, tablet, or computer screen being entertained. Add it up, and you'll figure out exactly what happens all of the time you claim not to have when someone asks you why you're not getting things done. We make time for things that are important to us. But what does it say when the main thing we're making time for is to be entertained? Entertainment has been used as a societal weapon. It puts your mind to sleep at best, and it programs you to act against your interest at worst, or it just conditions you not to act at all. People in this culture meekly accept treatment and conditions that in the past would have led to a revolution. Past generations didn't want a society with less brutality. They demanded one with no brutality at all. The Gilded Age led to an era of political violence. Today it leads to a few internet memes. Religion is no longer the opiate of the masses. Today it's entertainment, and that diversion comes in a variety of forms. Most of what passes for political discourse is nothing more than entertainment. You're used to the yelling and screaming that happens on sewers like ESPN, but did you know that they got it from the political shows? Shows like Crossfire back in the day where pundits yelled at one another? That's where the Stephen Smiths and others got that kind of behavior from, because if two middle-aged white guys can yell at each other over something as boring as the federal budget and get people to watch their show, then how much better would that work for something that didn't bore people, like sports? Too many people make it a habit to turn off their brains and just consume whatever's put in front of them, whatever slop has been handed to them by this or that white corporation. Well, my brain doesn't have an off switch, and I hope yours doesn't either. As long as you're devoting your time and energy to watching entertainment, you're not devoting it to building. If I was a mad scientist who wanted to simultaneously keep people too busy to be ambitious and too distracted to be a danger to me, and if my goal was to also impoverish them, I would give them free entertainment and make sure that they're paying for it somehow. They subsidize their own impoverishment and disempowerment. They won't get anything done. Nothing that they do would ever be a threat, and best of all, they'll convince themselves that they're actually getting something out of all of it. Under those circumstances, it's not necessary to go into someone's pocket and take their money. They'll happily hand it over to you and your advertisers. You don't have to stand over someone and threaten them in order to discourage them from challenging you. They'll just sit on their behinds and vegetate while you just take what you want. And there's no need to coerce them into accepting disrespect either. They'll meekly take whatever abuse you dish out. And better yet, they'll fight anyone who comes along and tells them not to take that kind of abuse. It was a television writer, David Milch, who once said, "We do not think our way to proper action. We act our way to proper thinking." And he was right. Human beings are creatures of habit. Whatever it is that we do, that's what we become. And what do you call someone who can't resist consuming something even when it's killing them? You call them an addict. A lot of you go through withdrawals merely missing this week's sports game or your favorite TV show or not getting your video game fix. They put a psychological overseer in your head is what they've done, and they've told you it's all just entertainment. And it is. It's holding you back. They may not use chains, but what they've employed is something far worse. Habit. That's what addiction is. And breaking an addiction is far harder than breaking metal chains. You can see chains. You know who put them on you. Chains hurt, so they're a perpetual reminder that you got to take them off. You can break chains, and when you do, you're free. But what happens when the chains are on your mind? You won't even know that they're there. And even if someone shows you the chains, you'll be mentally conditioned to keep them on anyway. Black people oversample when it comes to entertainment. We watch more than anyone else, and as a result, we understand it the least. Time for that to change. See the so-called entertainment that you consume and the digital devices you use the same way your oppressors do. They were the ones who brought these things to you in the first place, and they didn't do it to do you any favors. I'm telling you to put down the remote control, because the thing that's being controlled remotely is you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Alan Reese, Pamela Hyman, Black to Deaf, James Porter, and Faith Speaks Life. Salute to them, and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.